And turning now to Hong Kong, where this week pro-democracy activist Jimmy Lai took the stand in his own defense in a landmark trial. Lai is the founder of the pro-democracy newspaper in Hong Kong, Apple Daily. In 2021, the paper was forced to end its publication following a crackdown on a Beijing-imposed national security law. Lai has spent the last 4 years in jail. He has pled not guilty to charges of conspiracy to collude with foreign forces and conspiracy to publish seditious material. His testimony came just 1 day after the Hong Kong government sentenced 45 pro-democracy activists to prison, with sentences ranging from 4 years to 10 years. All of these cases are drawing international attention to how Hong Kong's democratic values are being tested by the Chinese Communist Party. Joining me now is Jimmy Lai's son, Sebastien. So thank you so much, Sebastien, for being here. It's an honor to talk with you. So in court, your dad said Apple Daily, of course, that newspaper that had to shut down, upheld the core values of rule of law and the pursuit of democracy, and that people would enjoy such freedoms by having more information. So what should people know about your father's mission and the state of democracy in Hong Kong?
Thank you so much for having me and shining a light on what is happening in Hong Kong and what they're doing to my father. The Apple Daily, my father founded this after the Tiananmen Square, in the aftermath of the Tiananmen Square massacre. He knew that having been successful in business, that sort of the additional zero on his net worth wouldn't make a difference, that he needed to defend the freedoms of Hong Kong as it was going to be handed over to China in 1997. So he founded Apple Daily with the idea that a source of information, a source of truth, that wasn't afraid to criticize the government, wasn't afraid to criticize the tycoons or organized crime. With that information, the people of Hong Kong would have choice, and with choice, freedom. So in the next 30 years, that's what they did, and it wasn't an easy road. His house has been firebombed. He's had death threats. People following him around, but they kept at that. For them, it was a very exhilarating thing because they could contribute to the freedoms of Hong Kong. And so when the national security law came down 4 years ago, Apple Daily and my father were one of the main targets, and everybody told my father to leave. They said, look, you're a better advocate abroad. He was 72 at that point. Told him, look, you're old, you should retire. But my father knew that if he left, he would be leaving his people behind. He would be leaving his journalists behind, and that they would be open to persecution. So he decided to stay, to act as a lightning rod and defend his people. And for his courage, for standing up for freedom and standing up for his people, he has been in solitary confinement in Hong Kong for the last 4 years. He has no access to the natural light. He doesn't get the Eucharist. And it breaks my heart to say this, but his health has gotten much worse as a result.
That's so heartbreaking to hear, and your father is doing such incredibly brave work. I wonder, could you tell me when the last time you talked to your father, given his confinement? And also, what was it like for your family to hear him testify in court?
The last time I saw my father was at the end of 2020. I haven't been able to go back to Hong Kong since because, as you might or might not know, there's 1,900 political prisoners in Hong Kong now. People, you could get arrested for wearing the wrong T-shirt or liking a social media post, and I've done much more than that in calling for my father's release. But I think it's one of those things where the last time I saw him, I just told him it was just a normal chat, and you don't. Thing in life is that you don't know if it's ever the last time you see your parent, and I hope it's not. That's what I'm trying to do to get him out. His testimony over the last few days has been very strong. He's reinstated what Apple Daily and he has fought for the last 30 years for freedom, peacefully advocating for freedom through journalism. But it was bittersweet because obviously his health has gotten much worse.
Yeah.
The aim of solitary confinement is to break you, is to keep you in a little cell and tell you that you did all of this for nothing, that nobody cares about you, and that you're going to die alone. And this is what it is going to be for the rest of your life. Yeah. And though his body seems to have, broken down quite a bit, it seems that his mind and his spirit is still keeping strong. They have not broken him, and and he still has fight in him, and that's
an incredible spirit, as you are describing his ability to continue on. I wonder, when you think about sort of the future, I want to say then candidate Trump last month said he would 100% speak with the Chinese president to talk about freeing your father. I wonder, do you think that there's some hope there, and do you think it's possible for your father to even get a fair trial if you can't get a sort of just release from the Trump administration?
So there's no chance of a fair trial. The UN Working Group on Arbitrary Detention issued a very strong ruling saying that not only should he be released immediately, that this trial should not be ongoing, and that he should have never been arrested in the first place. We're incredibly grateful for President Trump, President-elect Trump, to say that he will free my father, help free my father, and 100% he will be able to do it.
Yeah.
Because again, his health is deteriorating, and it's about freeing him, but it's about saving his life. At this point, if we keep going down that road, he will unfortunately die in prison.
Yeah. Well, your father is certainly a warrior for democracy, and I appreciate you coming on and talking about what I know is a difficult situation for you and your family, but your father is, of course, doing such amazing work. So thank you so much.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app, or follow us on social media.